What happens when a human falls for an alien? Intergalactic Hearts sci-fi romance. If one day, love doesn't come from your heart, but from a distant star, would you be able to love a creature who's not human? Or would love be destroyed by differences that cannot be bridged? On a rainy night, I received a strange message. It didn't come from someone I knew, but from a place I could not explain. And this love story began between me and an alien. Between the endless universe, two worlds collide, not by radio waves, but by a love that cannot be defined. Could we build a bridge from heart to heart, despite all the distance? When I met him, I thought it was just a coincidence. But the truth was, he wasn't human. He came from a planet millions of light years away. Could our love defy the laws of the universe? On a distant planet in an unexplored galaxy, where light from stars millions of light years away shines upon vast barren fields, a fateful encounter is about to take place. This is a silent world, covered by red sand dunes and towering mountains, with no sign of life except for the sandstorms that sweep through. A forgotten planet, but one that holds an unexpected life. A small spacecraft flies across the starry sky, landing in a vast valley. From within the ship, Kiros, an extraterrestrial being, steps out. Standing at 2.5 meters tall, his silver, shimmering skin gleams under the light, his deep eyes shining with a faint glow, and delicate scales running down his body. Kiros possesses the ability to control the elements around him, powers beyond human imagination, from harnessing energy from the air, to manipulating the flow of time in a small space. For him, this planet is not unfamiliar. It is his domain, a place he has lived alone ever since being exiled from another world. But today, everything will change. Lyra, an astronaut from Earth, is on a mission to search for extraterrestrial life. She is one of the first to be sent to this planet after a strange signal was detected from a satellite. She steps out of her spacecraft, light casting on her body, creating an ethereal and captivating presence in this strange environment. Lyra, small yet strong, with long brown hair gleaming under the distant stars, is a vision of beauty amidst the alien world. Kiros senses Lyra's presence the moment she steps out of the ship. He has heard of humans, but has never encountered one. His heart beats faster, though he doesn't understand why. Lyra, though startled and somewhat frightened by the unfamiliar surroundings, doesn't hesitate. She walks toward him, eyes filled with curiosity and a readiness to explore. Before Lyra can speak, Kiros turns and gestures for a massive creature to appear from the darkness behind him. Kiros's pet. Varun, a four-legged, muscular creature with smooth emerald-colored fur, and ancient patterns running across its body, emerges. Varun moves gracefully, silently, like a ghost, yet is capable of swiftly springing into action in dangerous situations. With its powerful build and strange agility, Varun is not only a loyal companion, but also Kiros's protector, always ready to fight when needed. Lyra stands frozen, staring into Varun's eyes, unable to believe what she's seeing. The creature, with its sturdy four legs and smooth coat, presents an image both strange and mesmerizing. Varun circles around her, its emerald fur glistening under the faint light of this planet, creating an overwhelming, yet captivating sensation. The scent of Varun's fur is fresh, like the breath of an ancient forest, making Lyra feel both safe and strangely uncertain. Kiros smiles, recognizing this as a natural reaction from humans when they first encounter an extraterrestrial creature. He steps closer, his deep eyes filled with kindness and curiosity. His voice, calm and deep, echoes through the space. I know this may seem strange to you, but this is Varun. He's my protector. Lyra hesitates for a moment, then responds with a hint of confusion. He's beautiful. And unlike anything I've ever seen. Kiros smiles lightly, and continues. He has been with me since I first arrived here. He is part of me. And, in a way, he'll be a part of you too. Kiros's words carry a sense of magic and invitation, as if making an unspoken commitment. Lyra feels herself drawn into this strange world, where she is no longer just an astronaut searching for life, but a part of Kiros and Varun's story. Varun's soft steps create a connection between them, and though not many words are spoken, the presence of this creature brings a strange comfort, making Lyra feel as if she has found a place where she truly belongs. The sky on this planet is unlike any Lyra has ever seen. The light from distant stars is not only faint but carries an unusual hue, as if reflecting a different source of energy. Both the beings and the creatures in this space seem to coexist in a silent harmony, with only the sound of the wind blowing through the red sand dunes. Kiros does not take his eyes off Lyra. He senses the difficulty in her gaze as she faces this world. Everything is new and unfamiliar to her, but her curiosity has sparked a connection that Kiros has never felt with any other being. Slowly, he approaches, leaving his pet Varun near Lyra, its massive eyes never leaving her. Though Varun looks intimidating, there is something oddly reassuring in its gaze, as though it is appraising this woman, preparing for a change in Kiros's life. I can feel your hesitation, Lyra. Kiros's voice is warm and gentle, resonating in the quiet space. But this world, it can teach you more than you know. Lyra looks at him, her confusion fading into a deeper curiosity. She is still in the process of accepting what she is facing. But something about Kiros makes her feel safe, as if he could guide her through the surprises of this world. Strangely, she no longer feels afraid, only an unfamiliar desire to explore. I'm trying to understand, Lyra says, her lips tight with slight concern. Everything here, it's unlike anything I've ever imagined. How did you survive all this alone? Kiros doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he looks out at the towering mountains in the distance, covered by thick mist. There's a sadness in his eyes that Lyra can recognize, a loneliness that words cannot explain. Varun moves closer, placing its sturdy paws on the ground, producing gentle sounds, as if soothing the tense atmosphere. I wasn't always alone, Kiros finally responds, his eyes lighting up with distant memories. My world, it was destroyed. The ones I cared for were lost. Now, I find myself on a planet where I can only watch the stars. But you're different. Lyra looks into Kiros's eyes, and in that moment, she feels a strange connection. Though she is a mere human from another planet, she feels as though she has found a common ground, a resonance in the pain he carries. Lyra steps closer, gently placing her hand on Varun's back, feeling the creature's soft, warm fur. Varun does not move but simply exhales a gentle, warm breath, making her feel at ease. The safety she feels from the creature spreads through her, making her feel stronger. "I'm not sure why I'm here," Lyra whispers, her voice light as the breeze. "But I feel connected. Like this place, it's calling me." Kiros looks at her, his gaze filled with empathy. A light smile appears on his face, as though he's been waiting for this moment for a long time. "The universe has a way of guiding us," Kiros says. "Perhaps you were always meant to be here. And this world, it will show you things you never imagined." A long silence falls between them, but there is no longer any awkwardness or distance. The bond between them grows stronger, not just out of curiosity, but through an understanding, a sharing of what each of them has been through. No more fear. Lyra feels a new strength in her body. She looks into Kiros's eyes, and a warmth spreads through her heart. Kiros moves closer, his eyes shining with unspoken understanding. He reaches out, a simple gesture but full of meaning. Lyra hesitates for a moment, then takes his hand. When their hands meet, a gentle current of electricity runs through her body, as if the space around them is uniting. Varun steps forward, standing beside them, as if protecting and witnessing the beginning of a bond that cannot be broken. The light from the stars seems to shine stronger, cutting through the faint clouds in the dark sky. The winds blow, creating sounds like the whispers of the universe. This planet, though silent and barren, feels as though it is alive, waiting for untold stories to be written by strangers like Lyra and Kiros. They sit together beside an unusual river, the water flowing crystal clear yet shimmering with the light of embedded crystals. Varun lies resting on the soft sand, its golden eyes watching every movement of the two, as if it knows how to create a safe space for them. Lyra feels an eerie calmness in this space, yet at the same time, a strange loneliness, as if she is standing between two entirely different worlds. Kiros never takes his eyes off Lyra. The light from the distant stars makes his silver skin glow with an ethereal beauty. The strangeness in his eyes cannot hide the deep sorrow he carries within. They sit in silence for a long time, not awkward, but with an unspoken connection between them. Finally, Kiros speaks, his voice gentle but deep, as if sharing a piece of his soul with her. "I once had a home. A planet like your Earth, full of life, full of love." He pauses, his eyes turning to the starry sky. "But that world was lost. My people, they were destroyed. I was left alone." Lyra looks at him, not speaking, but she can sense the weight in his voice. She understands that these words are not just simple stories, but the deep pain he has carried for a long time. Though she has never gone through anything like this, she knows the feeling of loss, losing what matters most in life. "How did you survive?" Lyra asks, her eyes fixed on his face. "What kept you going all this time?" Kiros turns back to look at her, his eyes lighting up with a bit of truth and a gentle smile. "Hope," he says. "The hope that I might find something, someone who can understand. Someone who might heal the wounds that time has left behind." Lyra doesn't know what to say, but she feels a deep empathy for him. She wonders if he sees the same hope in her eyes, the hope he has placed in this world, in life, and in himself. Kiros slowly faces her, his eyes soft and full of sincerity. You asked me how I survived. But the truth is, I have never truly lived until now. His words are like a whisper, but full of strength. Lyra clearly senses that it is not existence but feeling alive, feeling connected, that is important to him. She also feels something strange standing near him, as if she too has been awakened, brought to life in a world full of hope and dreams. In this stillness, with only them and Varun, Lyra feels she is no longer an outsider. She is a part of this world, this life, where everything seems to be reborn. Kiros slowly reaches out, gently calling Varun to him. The creature stretches, its movements light but graceful. It moves closer to Lyra, then kneels, gently resting its head on her leg as a sign of consent and protection. Lyra can't help but reach out, stroking Varun's smooth fur, feeling the warmth from it. A strange feeling, both safe and strong, spreads within her. Kiros watches everything through Varun's eyes, and then he says, Varun is not just a pet. He is my companion, my protector. And now, he is yours too. Lyra smiles, feeling a peace she has never known before. The feeling of Varun being close is a perfect connection between two worlds, between human and extraterrestrial creatures. She doesn't know what they will face in the future, but one thing is certain, this connection is the beginning of everything. The night sky grew pitch black, not a single star casting light down. In contrast to the quiet of this planet's heart, the space around them now felt suffocating and threatening. The winds began to shift, strong gusts of swirling air seemingly appearing from nowhere, whipping up violent sandstorms. Lyra could feel the change in the atmosphere, and she knew that a new challenge was approaching. Varun sensed the change in the environment, its steps becoming more deliberate, its bright eyes scanning every corner of the space. Both Lyra and Kiros stood still, their eyes meeting as if understanding something without words. In this moment, they didn't need to speak, for the bond between them had become so deep that they both knew they couldn't face this threat alone. There's something in the air, Lyra whispered, her hands tightly gripping the backup weapon she carried. The feeling of unease crept into her chest, but she couldn't let fear take over. She turned to look at Kiros, determination in her eyes. Kiros stood tall, his eyes gleaming with a strange light as he began to sense a very different energy emanating from the distance. His lips moved, speaking softly. We have to move fast. The three of them, Lyra, Kiros, and Varun, began moving quickly across the high hills and barren fields. Beneath their feet, the rocks screeched lightly as they scraped together, while the once fresh air of the planet had now become heavy, suffocating. Varun, Kiros's loyal companion, led the way, moving with incredible agility, its body as flexible as a shadow in the dark. The fur on Varun's body shimmered under the faint light from the hovering crystals in the air, and every step was silent but powerful. Lyra felt a strange sense of safety whenever she saw the creature, like it was a protective friend always ready for danger. After some time, Lyra felt a powerful tremor from the ground. She immediately turned around, and within an instant, a massive shadow loomed ahead. The enormous shadow, as large as the horizon, seemed to fall upon them, filling the air with a sense of impending doom. It was a colossal creature, with thick skin, a body that shimmered like metal, and eyes glowing red like fire in the dark. "Get ready," Kiros said briefly, his voice low and resolute. Before the creature could charge, Varun leaped forward, moving quickly and smoothly, as though nothing could stop it. Its body stood firm, its legs strong like steel pillars. Varun lunged at the giant creature, pushing it back with an impressive force, creating a loud thud as it collided with the ground. Lyra couldn't catch her breath as she held her weapon tightly in her hands, her eyes fixed on the target. She knew she had to help, but the fear still lingered in her heart. The overwhelming feeling of being so small in the face of such a colossal creature reminded her of battles on Earth, but this time, she wasn't alone. Kiros stood by her side, his eyes burning with energy as if he could face anything. Kiros raised his hand, and a storm of energy erupted from his palm. Powerful beams of light wrapped around the giant creature, causing it to roar in agony. Each pulse of energy flowed like waves, surrounding the beast and preventing it from moving. Lyra stood there, eyes wide, watching Kiros control the energy. She could feel the strength emanating from him, a strength so foreign to her. It was as if everything in the universe could be manipulated by him, but he remained her protector, helping her through every danger. After several tense seconds, the giant creature let out one final roar and disappeared into the darkness, vanishing into thin air. Kiros lowered his hand, the light from his body fading, leaving silence in the air. The three of them stood there, looking at each other in silence, but none of them felt fear anymore. They had won, but this was just one of the many challenges they would face on this planet. Lyra looked into Kiros's eyes, sensing the connection they shared, not just as protector and protected, but something deeper. She smiled lightly, unable to deny that she had found something truly special in this world. The night dragged on, the cold moonlight unable to illuminate the treacherous paths Lyra and Kiros were navigating. The atmosphere around them was eerily still, and the silence seemed to suffocate every sensation within them. Even with Varun by their side, the silence between Lyra and Kiros grew thicker. Lyra could feel the tension in the air, not just from the planet but also from Kiros. He walked ahead, his steps confident, yet his gaze no longer carried the gentle calm it once did. She knew something terrible was about to happen, and they were drawing closer to a living entity unlike anything anyone could imagine. Varun walked beside them, its bright eyes vigilant, scanning every movement in the surrounding darkness. Its powerful body radiated strength, yet Lyra knew nothing could truly prepare them for what they were about to face. Kiros sensed the same thing, but he did not turn to look at her. He knew, this was not the moment for comforting words. The real battle awaited them ahead. "Lyra," Kiros's voice cut through the night, deep and cold. "Something is coming. I can feel it." Lyra turned to him, anxiety written across her face. She could sense the fear creeping through every fiber of his being, the one thing he couldn't hide. Lyra stepped closer to him, her hands clenched, but not in fear, rather in determination. "What is it?" she asked, her voice trembling with more curiosity than worry. Kiros slowly turned to face her, his eyes flashing with something unfamiliar. "It's the core of the planet." The power that we've been fighting, it's alive. This place, it's waking up. And it's not going to stop. A strong gust of wind suddenly swept through, carrying with it a chilling, ominous feeling. Lyra could feel the cold wind wrap around her body, and she couldn't help but think that this wasn't just a natural storm. This was the prelude to something terrible. Varun raised its head, its golden eyes looking into the dark ahead. It could sense the impending threat. Lyra turned to look at the creature, feeling the protection it offered, but she knew none of them would face this alone. The three of them continued to move, the dread in the air palpable. Yet, amidst the silence, the bond between Lyra and Kiros could not be denied. She realized, no matter how dangerous this alien world was, their connection was stronger than ever. As they ventured deeper into the planet, the air grew heavier. Every step seemed to bring them closer to an even greater challenge. Kiros walked ahead, Varun trailing closely, and Lyra could feel the tension mounting in the atmosphere. No longer was there a sense of calm, there was an urgency, as though time and space were slipping away. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from behind them, and Lyra turned in shock as a massive shadow appeared. This wasn't a creature like the others they had faced before, it was something entirely different. Its eyes glowed bright red like fire, its body covered in thick, metallic scales, reflecting strange light. It resembled a dragon, but 3 times larger than any she had ever seen. Without hesitation, Kiros raised his hand, and a surge of light shot from his palm. Varun rushed forward, its powerful body charging at the beast, but the creature reacted immediately, swinging its arm with terrifying force, sending Varun flying back. Lyra couldn't stand by. She rushed to Kiros, her eyes filled with determination. "Kiros," she cried, as he continued to control the energy, battling the colossal creature. "I'm here. I won't leave you." She couldn't let him fight alone. The strength from their connection pushed her forward. She wasn't just facing the creature anymore, she was confronting the deep feelings she had begun to realize within herself. The three of them, Kiros, Varun, and Lyra, fought together. Powerful strikes from the beast, energy blasts from Kiros, and Varun's strength combined to create a fierce battle. Finally, after a series of devastating attacks, the creature let out one final roar before collapsing into the dark, dissipating into the air. Lyra gasped for breath, but she didn't feel victorious, only a haunting silence. She knew this battle was just the beginning. The environment around them began to shift. The light from the crystal-like structures on the walls dimmed, no longer illuminating the path ahead. The three of them pushed forward, deeper into the heart of the planet, where the hidden secrets in the darkness began to unfold. Kiros stopped for a moment, sensing a change. Lyra wasn't sure what he felt, but she could see the tension in his eyes. "It's here," Kiros said, his voice heavy with concern. "The core, it's sending out waves of energy. It's trying to manipulate us." Lyra looked at him, understanding that this wasn't just a physical battle anymore. It was a mental one, a fight to preserve not just their lives, but the survival of the entire planet. With Varun's help, they ventured into the core of the planet, where a storm of powerful energy was raging. But as they neared, Kiros felt an abrupt shift. The energy wasn't just coming from the ground, it was emanating from the air around them. This time, Lyra understood. They were about to face something no one could have ever imagined. As Lyra, Kiros, and Varun ventured deeper into the planet's core, the air grew even heavier and stranger. The three of them felt the power rising from the depths of the ground, where the strange energy was awakening. Every step they took felt like they were heading toward a final confrontation, a battle not just for survival, but for a new beginning for everything. Kiros stopped before a massive door, made of enormous stone slabs and covered in glowing cracks. The light from the surrounding crystals wasn't enough to illuminate every corner of the door, but a faint beam of light began to emit from inside, as though the planet had been waiting for them to arrive. Lyra looked at Kiros, her eyes filled with both dread and hope. She could feel that, if they stepped inside, there would be no turning back. This wasn't just about the planet anymore, it was about their relationship. The bond they had shared since the beginning would be tested to its limits. Kiros turned back to look at her, his gaze steady. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice soft but filled with resolve. She could sense a flicker of anxiety in his eyes, but his unwavering determination reassured her. "I've never been more ready," Lyra replied, her voice strong, though her heart raced. She knew this wasn't just a fight for the planet, it was a fight to protect what mattered most to them, their connection. The three of them stepped through the door, the space inside a dark void, swirling with powerful energy. Varun led the way, its bright eyes cutting through the darkness, while Kiros and Lyra followed closely, entering the heart of this strange power. A violent storm of energy suddenly exploded around them, pulling at everything in sight. Lyra felt a violent jolt in her body, as though she were being dragged into an invisible vortex. The entire space seemed to twist, strange images flashing in her mind, memories of a destroyed civilization, ancient recollections of Kiros, and unimaginable secrets hidden within this planet. Kiros raised his hand, and a burst of light erupted from his palm, dispersing the waves of energy. He grasped Lyra's hand, feeling her tension. "This is it," he said, his voice calm but filled with resolve. "We've come this far. Now, we must face it all." Suddenly, a great roar echoed through the space, as a colossal creature, like an entity formed entirely of pure energy, began to manifest. Its shape was blurry, impossible to define, like a monstrous being created from energy itself, something Kiros had never seen before. Lyra shivered, but she knew this was it. They had no choice but to face the truth. Not just for the planet, but for what they had shared together. Kiros pulled her close, his eyes locked on the creature. His gaze was calm, and it eased Lyra's fear. "We need to control it," he said, his voice steady. "If we don't, it will consume everything." Lyra grasped his hand, feeling his strength flow into her. She didn't know if she had the power to face this creature, but she knew one thing: they would not give up. They couldn't. Not because they were afraid, but because they had each other. With perfect coordination between Kiros and Varun, they began to fight, not only to stop the creature's attack, but to restore balance to this planet. Slowly, Lyra began to feel her own power emerge, as if the connection between her and Kiros was expanding, allowing her to control the energy from her own heart. The colossal creature roared, but it couldn't withstand their power. Gradually, the light from Kiros and Varun began to overpower it, pushing the creature back. And then, finally, silence returned. The creature vanished into the air, leaving an empty space behind. But this time, there was no fear. Lyra knew that they had won not just for the planet, but because they had faced everything together. Kiros turned to look at Lyra, his eyes full of gratitude. "We did it," he whispered, his voice gentle and full of trust. She didn't respond immediately, but her eyes sparkled as she looked at him. She could feel everything they had been through, and knew that no matter what happened next, they would always face it together. And the final moments, when the space between us was reduced to a tiny spark in the vast expanse of the cosmos. I realized one thing: love doesn't need to be explained. Sometimes, the things that defy reason are the things that last forever. And we stayed together, overcoming every distance. We conquered every challenge. But in the end, I realized the most important thing was not where he came from, but how he showed me that love can come from anywhere, and where it will take us, we will have to discover together. And so, this story ends. But is it the end of a chapter, or simply the beginning of a much longer journey? Will anyone continue this story, where the hearts of humans and the universe meet once again? Can love truly have no boundaries? Will humanity continue to seek love in other worlds, or is it just an illusion? Perhaps the answer will never come, but at least we've explored it together. If you've enjoyed this story and the deep connection we've discovered, make sure to subscribe and comment below. Let's continue this journey of exploration together, and who knows, there might be more intergalactic hearts waiting to be found.